In this section, we'll look beyond the technology and ask a harder question. Who benefits and who gets left out? We'll explore identity exclusion, algorithmic bias, and how AI-enabled identity systems can shift power, rights, and surveillance in society, and what responsible leaders should do about it. Digital identity quietly decides who gets access to money, healthcare, travel, even speech, and who gets blocked or ignored. As AI enters the picture, these gateways become smarter and faster, but also more opaque. As a leader, your responsibility is to shape how those gates work and who they ultimately serve. Most digital identity systems are designed around an ideal user who is fully documented, always online, and easy to verify. As you move away from that center, people don't just get a worse experience, they can lose basic rights. Those with limited access face extra friction logging in, proving who they are, or recovering accounts. And those who are systemically excluded may be effectively locked out of banking, healthcare, or voting when identity becomes digital-only or heavily document-driven. To design truly inclusive identity, think in terms of multiple, layered pathways rather than a single perfect flow. Some people will arrive with strong government IDs, others with community attestations or someone vouching for them. Your model needs to flex to accept all of these while still managing risk. Then make the experience itself accessible. Low bandwidth, screen reader friendly, available in local languages, and offered across online, mobile, and in-person channels. That's what it looks like when identity becomes a form of practical social justice. AI bias in identity rarely comes from a single bad decision. It seeps in at 3 stages. First, biased or incomplete training data makes the model intrinsically less accurate for some populations, so errors cluster around already vulnerable groups. Second, the model may rely on proxy variables like location, device type, or usage patterns that quietly stand in for protected traits. Third, human reviewers add procedural bias through inconsistent judgments, language barriers, and ad hoc exceptions that are hard to detect and even harder to challenge. Algorithmic feedback loops can turn one biased decision into a self-fulfilling prophecy. Imagine an AI model misreads a document or face and flags someone from a marginalized group as high risk. That flag triggers extra checks, delays, and friction. Because of that, more people in that group abandon sign-up or get incorrectly labeled as fraud. Those events feed back into the system as evidence that the group is risky, so the model tightens controls further. Without deliberate intervention, the loop amplifies bias over time. Fairness in digital identity is less about a perfect algorithm and more about a repeatable practice. You need strong technical safeguards, but they only work when balanced with real governance and human oversight. Governance means explicit fairness policies, people empowered to question decisions, and regular bias impact assessments. On the technical side, you invest in representative data, continuous demographic monitoring, and human review of edge cases. And crucially, you give users contestability, clear ways to appeal, correct harmful identity errors, and actually get a different outcome. When a single identity system connects finance, health, telecom, and transport, it becomes incredibly powerful and dangerous. The first risk is function creep. A system created to deliver welfare benefits can quietly shift into a tool for policing, debt collection, or political surveillance, often without fresh consent or public debate. The second risk is chilling effects. If people feel they are constantly identifiable wherever they go, they start to self-censor, avoid protests, and withdraw from democratic participation. Digital identity isn't just a technical system, it's a power system. States can make access to welfare, voting, or even movement depend on having the right ID. Platforms act as private gatekeepers, deciding who can log in, publish, or get paid based on opaque risk and reputation scores. Caught between them is the individual, usually with little leverage or transparency. At a global level, weak regulation amplifies this imbalance, enabling cross-border data extraction and reinforcing older economic and political hierarchies. Designing identity systems is mostly about setting dials, not finding perfect answers. If you tighten data linkages to catch more fraud, you almost always pay in reduced privacy and bigger consequences when something is breached. If you make access effortless with broad single sign-on, You shift power towards central platforms and away from individual users. The guiding test is proportionality. Collect and connect only what's genuinely necessary for a clear, legitimate purpose, and be able to justify every extra data link. Use this ethical design compass as a quick decision check for any identity feature you ship. First, ask, are we respecting rights by design? Privacy, non-discrimination, and space for free expression should be defaults, not patches. Second, inclusion by default. Who could be harmed or excluded, and how do we redesign to protect them? Third, privacy and security by design. Collect less, protect more, and avoid linking data unnecessarily. Finally, accountability and transparency. Document key choices and make it clear who's responsible when things go wrong. Before you ship any identity feature, pause and walk through 4 passes. Inclusion, list who's likely to be blocked by your flow, then design a concrete fallback, usually a human path. Fairness, define which groups you'll compare, which metrics you'll use, and how often you'll audit. Purpose and scope. Challenge every attribute you collect and document why it's needed. User agency, make revoking consent, unlinking accounts, and correcting data simple, fast, and clearly explained. To keep identity systems aligned with society, you need more than smart engineers and good intentions. Think in layers. Technical teams build the infrastructure and embed safeguards, but they shouldn't be the only line of defense. Independent oversight bodies with real enforcement power translate societal expectations into rules and consequences. Above that, sustained engagement with affected communities, advocates, and domain experts keeps you honest about impact. Across all layers, trust is earned through transparency reports, impact assessments, and clear accountability when algorithms cause harm. As AI scales identity systems, ethics can't be an afterthought. Build for inclusion so the hardest-to-reach users aren't locked out. Stress test flows and models for bias before harm occurs. And treat surveillance risk as a design constraint, not a bug. That's how you earn durable trust and long-term legitimacy.